Has anybody حد سمع عن ال 5 love languages قبل كده? Some yes, many no. Okay, so I have with me some handouts for you to discover عشان كل واحد يعرف ايه ال love language بتاعته. So we'll start from the beginning. I'll do it in a little bit, yeah. Okay, so ايه اللغات اللي انتوا بتتكلموها؟ كله بيتكلم عربي? Yes, what else? في ايه تاني؟ English, Italian. What else? French, a lot of French. Russian. Coptic. Yes, some, a little, بتفهموا شوية. Right? So, some of these languages, they feel natural. Right? اتربينا بيهم ماما وبابا بيتكلموا كده هوت فاتعلمناها بسرعة. Other languages لما بتتعلموها لما بنبقى أكبر بتبقى أصعب إن إحنا نتعلمها. But it's not impossible. With some languages هيكونوا أسهل من تانيين. Right? So French has many things in common with Arabic, so it becomes easier to pick up. But something like Chinese has an entirely different alphabet. And so it's a lot harder to learn. So keep those kinds of things in mind when you think about when you're, like how you learned different languages, especially later in life. We're going to think about that as we go on. Okay? If somebody said that they loved you, لو حد قال لكم إنه بيحبكم في اللغة اللي أنتوا فاهمينها هتبقى very powerful. It's going to be very touching and you're going to appreciate it وهتفتكروها. ولو قالوا حاجة كويسة هتفتكروها for a very long time. بس لو حد قال لكم حاجة وحشة بلغة تانية مش فاهمينها most likely مش هتفرق معاكم. Right? If they say like an insult or they say that you're unattractive in a language you don't understand, you won't even care. You will just kind of let it go, it'll go over your head and you'll move on and 2 days later it didn't even impact your life. Okay? In relationships, we all speak a language. كل واحد له لغة مفضلة في ال relationships بتاعتنا. With our spouses, with our kids, with our friends, everywhere. It impacts all of our relationships. So sometimes we speak the same language as our spouse or our kids, and sometimes it's very different. And it's very important to figure out what they are, because if they're the same, it might feel easier, but if they're different, it causes some friction. It makes it hard to feel loved if the other language is different. Okay? So, في واحد اسمه Dr. Gary Chapman. He created these 5 love languages. He's a marriage counselor. He sees couples come in and out of his office all the time. ولقى إن في pattern. إن كل ما بيشوف ناس ملاحظ إن most of the conflict comes لما الواحد بيحس إنه no one loves them. Or their spouse isn't showing love in a way they understand. And there's confusion. And so you see the husband says, of course I love her, what do you mean? And she's sitting there saying, no, he doesn't love me, he doesn't show me. How do I know? Just because he says it? And so everyone feels it a really different way. So he found that there were 5 main languages that he discovered. And the 5 are words of affirmation, so كلام كويس, physical touch, اللمس, quality time, إن واحد يقضي وقت مع التاني, gifts, هدايات, and acts of service. So إنك تعمل حاجة للتاني, إنك تساعد, to do things around the house, outside of the house, things like that. We'll talk about examples. Okay, so the other thing he said, Chapman, the object of love is not getting something you want, but doing something for the well-being of the one you love, right? The purpose of love مش إن إحنا ناخد اللي إحنا عايزينه, بس إن إحنا ندي اللي قدامنا محتاجه for their well-being. And of course, that's what we want for our spouse. That's what we want for our kids. We want their well-being. لما هم هيكونوا مستريحين, إحنا كمان هنستريح. هيبقى أسهل إن هم برضو يريحونا. But first you have to understand yourself. Okay? So, I'm going to hand out. And there's 2 kinds. There's one for couples, right? So understanding your love language between you and your spouse. And this is usually helpful in other relationships too. And then there's one for your children. So if you have kids, take both. If you don't have kids, just take the couples. It's 2 pages. Yeah. Right? Is it 2 or 3? 2. Yeah. Okay. So there's 2 pages. And it's very simple. It just asks, what do you prefer? بتفضلوا ايه؟ مثلا تفضلوا ان السباوس بتاعكم either يديكوا حضن ولا يقول لك كلمة كويسة. To tell you you look nice today or to vacuum the house. It's different for everybody. Right? And for some people it's both. يعملوا الاثنين ممكن. But it's not just about take, right? We talked about the purpose of love is doing things for the well-being of others. فإحنا برضك لازم نفهم what's on the other side. Okay, so how do you find out what your love language is? You can take the questionnaire. It's also online. If you go online and just Google 5 love languages, you can take it and it'll just tell you. You don't have to do any work. You just answer and it tells you what the results are. But one of the things you can do is you can think about how you were raised. So how did your parents show you love growing up? In the house. What made you feel the most loved as a child? Think back. And it's so long ago, but we can each remember little, tiny, small things. And they're very important. And when we pay attention to that, that's what's going to help us understand. You can't love someone else, or you can't feel loved by others if you don't know how you yourself feel loved. You have to understand yourself. So we're going to talk about it in 3 different levels. The first one is yourself, understanding how you feel loved. The second one is understanding how your spouse feels loved. And the third one is understanding how your children feel loved. I can't tell you how many times I see children whose parents care so much, and they come in and they say, we care about him so much. We want him to know how much we love him. All he does is complain. And he says, you don't care about me, and you don't love me, and you love so-and-so better. This is a child who doesn't feel loved the way they understand, in the language they understand it. It's like they speak English, and you keep telling them in German, I love you, I love you. Oh, whatever. It doesn't impact them. It doesn't come inside. Okay? So once you start to understand what your primary language is and how you were raised and how your parents showed you love and what touched you the most, it'll help you as you move on. Mine, for example, is quality time. Right? So do you all remember the 5? There's going to be a test at the end. You're going to have to say all 5. All right, let's do the 5 again. So words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. Okay? Mine, for example, is quality time. When I think back to childhood, we took vacations all the time, but it was always with a lot of people, lots of extended family, aunts and uncles and cousins, and it was so much fun. I loved it. But the one vacation I remember the most is when it was just the 4 of us. Just us, 1 week. I don't think that almost never happens. Just the 4 of us, 1 week, no one else. And that was so touching to me. And that shows, if I think back to childhood and I reflect on it now, that is my love language. That's how I communicate. It's how I show love to others. If you think about what I do for work, I sit with people one-on-one. It's quality time. I sit with people one-on-one, communicating with them and listening to what they're wanting to talk about. So think about what you're most pulled to, how you tend to show others love. That'll also help inform you. How do you show others love? What do you do? Is it acts of service? Are you always in the kitchen and getting things ready and serving others, or cleaning up for somebody and doing their laundry? What could it be? You think through those things. When you really want to show somebody that you care about them, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What's the first thing that you feel pulled to do? Okay? The other thing you can think about is, where is the most pain? Where are your most painful experiences in relationship? ايه اللي بيجرحكوا the most لما حد تاني بيعملها؟ هل بيبقى الكلام اللي حد تاني بيقوله؟ ولا لما حد تاني يقول لكم إنه هيقضي وقت معاكم and then they cancel. Or when you expect إن حد هيساعدكم بحاجة and they don't do it, or they just don't help or offer in the first place? Is it when you're expecting a gift on an anniversary and no one remembers to get you anything? What's the most painful for you? That will also help you understand what yours is. Okay? All right. The next part, after you understand yourself, is understand somebody else. How do you know what someone else's love language is? How do you know what your spouse's is? How do you know what your children's are? You can ask them. With kids, you can say, how do you know mom and dad love you? How can you tell? And they'll answer. They will give good answers. You might think, oh, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, they don't know what they're talking about. No, you can pick it up from the things that they say. You can listen to your spouse. What do they complain about the most? You never, what? What do they say? You never get me anything on my birthday. You never spend time with me. You never help wash the dishes or clean the house. You never try to spend time with me. You never initiate sex. All of these, it'll tell you what their love language is when you think about what the biggest complaints are that you hear from your spouses. And listen to the complaints of the kids. What do they say? Okay. So, as an experiment for you guys, I asked my kids. I said, how do you know that we love you? So the littlest one says, and I didn't do it, I had somebody else do it so that they wouldn't be biased. He said, because they hug me, because I'm their kid, they make dinner, and they put my pajamas on. How do you make sense of that? What do you get from that? Which language do you think? Physical. Yeah, you're right. There is some service in there. But a lot of it is physical touch. If anybody saw him today at the liturgy, he was squeezing the life out of me. Because when he is tired, that's what he does too. And that's what we can look at to the opposite, is when our children misbehave, what's the biggest thing that we see out of them? So a child whose language is physical touch is going to act out by punching and hitting and kicking. A child whose language is quality time might kind of sit alone in their room and not come out, not want to spend time with anybody. It means something is paining them. We need to talk to them about that. Oh, good. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let's talk more specifically. The first one we'll do is words of affirmation. It involves saying positive things to your spouse, using positive words. Sometimes ممكن ده يكون صعب إن إحنا متضايقين وزعلانين ومتنرفزين وما فيش أي حاجة كويسة. إيه هقول له إيه كويس؟ ما بيعملش أي حاجة كويسة. Find even the negative and find something positive. So, okay, so لم الحاجة بس ما حطهاش في مكانها. It's still a big mess. At least say thank you for trying. Thank you إنك حاولت تحط الحاجة في مكانها. المرة الجاية ممكن كذا كذا. But you can find the positive in every little thing somebody does. Maybe they make plans for dinner at a place you don't really like. You could still say, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for showing me that you want to go to dinner with me. Could we try this place instead? Rather than saying, you never listen to me. قلت لك 100 مرة أنا ما بحبش المكان ده. No, find the little positive thing around it, okay? Tell them things like, you're so good at your job. I'm so lucky to have you. Wow, I can't believe you did all that. I love you. You mean the world to me. We're also lucky to have you. I'm so glad I married you, right? People need to hear that 10, 15, 20, 25 years later. I'm so glad about the decision I made a long time ago, especially if it's words of affirmation. If that's what your spouse speaks, those are the things they want to hear. That's what's going to help motivate them and make them feel so loved by you that they will want to show that in return. Your spouse is going to cherish these words for a very long time. They're going to hold it in their hearts, and even in their difficult times. With children will reap the benefits of positive words of affirmation for a lifetime. Anybody in this room whose love language is words of affirmation can remember something someone said to them when they were very little that encouraged them, that made them feel good about themselves, that told them they were so good at something, they were talented, or that they had a special skill. And that's usually what they remember that carries them through life. Children will usually ask things, children whose language is words of affirmation will ask things like, do you like it? Did I do a good job? Did you see my test? What do you think? Look how far I kicked it. Look what grade I got. What do they want in return? They want you to say, wow, what a great job. Wow, you studied so hard. Way to go. Nice work. I'm so proud of you. A child who keeps saying, look, did you see? Look, look, look. They want to hear things from you. They want words of affirmation. The most hurtful thing for a child whose love language is words of affirmation is going to be saying negative words, hurtful things, mean comments, words that break a child down instead of building them up. So what we want to do is encourage them. The word encourage is to instill courage, to give them courage. The next one is physical touch. This can come in lots of different forms. With spouses, it can be holding hands when you're in the car, when you're just walking someplace. You could gently put your arm around them. If you're walking around in the house, you can just walk by and pat, give them a small kiss. You can do it in lots of different times, in front of others, find gentle ways to do it. When you're alone, it could be about, fulfilling their sexual desires. And that's important to have a conversation about. And that's when a lot of conflict will come up, right? So if for the wife it's acts of service, and for the husband it's physical touch, they tend to kind of talk like this. And he tries to show her physical touch, and she doesn't feel loved. She's like, no, I need your help. I need you to do something. And she tries to do things for him, like, getting things or cleaning things or cooking stuff. And he's like, you don't care about me. You don't show me any physical touch. And so they keep miscommunicating. They have to find a way to speak the language of the other person, even if that's not what their language is. Because love is a choice, right? The ikhtiyar. It's not, maybe in the beginning we fell in love. Oh, it's so nice, it's so pleasant, it just happened. Later, it takes work. It's a choice. You have to make a choice to love, and to love the way that your spouse speaks. For children, it could be things like, again, hugs, kisses, extra hugs and kisses. My child I was telling you about with the physical touch, he counts them. Before he goes to sleep, he says, I'll give you 3 hugs today. I'll give you 5 kisses today. I'll give you 100 kisses today. It means he just had a wonderful day. Sometimes he'll say, just one hug, 1 kiss, good night, go. He's done. He's either very tired, he's had a bad day, whatever the reason is. But that's how you can tell. It could mean cuddling in the evening. It could mean sitting with them in their bed for a few minutes. Other more active kids will do it by wrestling. They're the ones that are always climbing on you. They want to wrestle. They want to be tickled. They want something active and physical. And think about, as they get older too, the way that you speak the physical touch can change. You might want to do more, I want to play football together. I want to wrestle. I want to do other more active things. It can change. This is an important one because I think that all kids need to be shown this, whether that's their language or not. And that's the other thing about kids, is you'll want to do all of it with them, but definitely understand the primary one the most. Children need to be touched in order to be emotionally healthy. So they did a study. Does anybody know about the study with monkeys? With the wire monkey and the cloth. So they took a baby monkey, and they made a fake monkey out of wire. Right? أخذوا like حديد وعملوا حاجة شكلها monkey. So the monkey was made of wire, and they had another monkey made of wire, but they put a soft blanket around it. That's all they did. A soft blanket. And they went to see which monkey is the baby monkey going to prefer? And the baby monkey spent almost all of its time with the monkey with the cloth, with the blanket on him, because he just wanted that touch. They then even tried to give the bottle of milk to the wire monkey. And so here's this baby monkey, and he's hungry. What's he going to do? Who's he going to go to? He would go get the milk from the wire monkey, and then he'd go back to the cloth monkey, and he would cuddle with that for the rest of the day. He would just get what he wanted to eat and then go back, right? And so let's think about this culturally. Because what do we spend most of our time doing? Besides cooking and cleaning and serving, we want to serve our family and serve our kids and give them all of these things. And then we're like, but they don't appreciate. Why? Why don't they care? They just come and they eat and they run and they go off. That might not be the language that they speak. And for other kids, maybe it is. And those are going to be the ones that always say, wow, thank you so much. Thank you for making such a delicious meal. All right, and we talked a little bit about when it's misdirected, when the misbehavior will show you which language it is, when they're punching or hitting or play fighting or kicking. That's another clue. All right, the next one is quality time. So if spending time together, no matter what you're doing, as long as your spouse is with you, if that's what's important to you and that's what makes you feel loved, then your language is quality time. The complaints from this usually come very general, like, we never see each other, you never spend time with me, you never want to be with me. This is someone who's craving that quality time. They just want to spend time together. And it doesn't matter what they're doing. ممكن تكون أي حاجة. Like, لازم نطبق الغسيل نطبقه مع بعض. Just sit with me. You don't even have to do it. Just sit right there while we do it together. It could be, I'm cooking. I just sit in the kitchen. Keep doing the work you're doing, but just the company. It's wanting your company. It could be just sitting down together and both reading a book. It could be going for a walk together. It's important to understand that and listen to those complaints. With children who enjoy quality time as their primary language, they like to do anything together no matter what. They're the ones who follow you everywhere. They follow you upstairs. You go down, they go down. You go up, they go up. You go in the bathroom, they are in the bathroom. Hello, excuse me. Right? They're with you everywhere. These are the children who want quality time. You want to go to the store real quick. It's just 5 minutes. Just stay right here. Nope. Okay, Maggie. They want quality time. They want to be right there. Gifts. Gifts is one that we have to think about very closely because sometimes with gifts we could dismiss it and kind of be like, no, that's superficial. That's no, if your primary language is gifts, you need to change it because you shouldn't expect that. But for some children, it's very important, and for some spouses, it's very important. And with spouses, it doesn't matter. It could be expensive or inexpensive. It's just the thoughtfulness that comes from it. And somebody whose language is physical touch, whose gifts, they just want something to hold. They want something that's tangible, that they can hold in their hands. And it doesn't matter, like I said, how big or how small. It's just that they have something that they cherish and they hold on to. And whenever they see it, they think, oh, they were thinking of me when they brought this. It doesn't have to be a whole bouquet. It can just be one flower. It can be from your garden. It doesn't matter where it's from. Maybe you made it. It could be a card that you make. But just knowing that it was specially selected for you. It could be if you're traveling and you bring something small back. With children, again, these are children who will appreciate things no matter how big or how little. It doesn't have to be always a toy. It doesn't always have to be something that was bought. It could come from anywhere. It could just be something from outside. I know some kids, so my child who likes physical touch, his other one is gifts. You can see how that kind of goes together, right? Something that's touch. It's rocks. If I find a rock outside and I say, look, I got a rock. I got it for you. He's so excited. He's so happy and thank you so much. It touches them. And it doesn't have to be something it's not always just lavishing them with toys and they have 100 toys but they never play with it. Forget it, I'm not getting anything else. It's important to remember, though, that you can overdo it with gifts and that children are very, very smart in knowing when it's a manipulation. It has to be genuine. It has to come from the heart, and they can tell, and like your spouses can tell. And so a lot of times with families who may be separated or divorced, they can tell if a parent is trying to manipulate them by just buying them lots of things, even though they don't spend time with them. So we have to be cautious, again, like I said, having some balance, but knowing what the most important thing is that they would want to be spoken to in that language. All right. The next one is acts of service. So acts of service for our spouses, like I mentioned before, can come in the form of helping, relieve them of their burdens, right? حد يشيل عليك التقل، شيل من عليك التقل. Right? So someone who can vacuum or wash the dishes or clean the house or pick up the groceries or do the laundry, or somebody who loves those kinds of things or where it's most touching to them, they're the ones who are going to really want these acts of service. It's going to be touching in their hearts. Taking out the garbage, running errands, anything that relieves them from this pressure or a heaviness or a burden on them is going to be very important to them. With children, complaints you'll hear are going to be things like, you never help me with my homework. Whenever I ask you to help me with this, you don't. When I asked you to help me pick this up, you said I could do it myself. When I wanted you to help me with this problem that I was having, you didn't do it. Those are the kinds of complaints you see. With children, it's so important because your primary job is to be serving them anyway. You're already doing acts of service for them all the time. But at the same time, you want to teach them how to do these things, right? You want to make their bed, but you want to teach them how to make the bed themselves. But if their language is acts of service, you have to find those little ways to do some of that for them. So one day you saw that they were rushed, they come home, hey, you made their bed for them. They'll be so pleased if their language is acts of service. They notice those small things. I folded your blanket for you. It's an important one. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about how we see these biblical examples coming into play. In Proverbs 15:1, it says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Right? And so especially for somebody where it's words of affirmation, you're going to want to think about that. It's about using the gentle words with them. We can think of a biblical example for every love language. It's evident in all of the relationships that we saw with Jesus. So Peter, what do you think it is for Peter? What was Peter's love language, if you had to think of one? Come on. Words of affirmation, absolutely. Yeah, he needed to hear encouraging words from Jesus in order for him to feel that love. He would say, you are Peter, on this rock and I will build my church. Right? Or when he was walking on water in Matthew 14:22, it says, "But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid.' 'Lord, if it is you,' Peter replied, 'tell me to come on the water.'" Tell me to come on the water. He just wants to hear the word. Jesus, just say come, and I'll be trusting and I'll be happy and I'll be ready to come. He needs words. And Jesus knew that about him, and so that's how he communicated with him. In the opposite, that's why the words were so powerful for Peter when Jesus said, "Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times." And Peter was like, no, not me. Words of affirmation is my thing. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't deny you with my words. That's what most pained him. When we think of Martha, Mary and Martha, what's Martha's? Service, absolutely. The Bible makes it very, very clear for us. Hers is service. She was busy about the house when Jesus came to visit. What was it for Mary, the sister of Martha? Quality time. She just wanted to sit at his feet. She could care less what was happening around her. She just wanted the quality time. What was it for Thomas? Physical. I gave you such easy examples, didn't I? It's physical touch. Physical touch. He wanted to see. So Thomas, said to them, the other disciples, when they were sitting around, "Unless I see in his hands the print of the nails and put my finger into the print of the nails and put my hands into his side, I will not believe." Think about that when you think of your kids and how but I show you love this way and I show you love this way. Now, what do you mean you don't feel loved? Unless you actually touch me, I will not believe that you love me. You have to speak that language. And that's why, Jesus was so accepting of Thomas, and he understood that about him. He was like, go ahead. If this is what you need, go ahead. He didn't, chide him for it. Maybe later he did. Okay. By the same token, Jesus also spoke all 5 languages. And I'm sure we can think of 1,000 examples, but he communicated. He knew who he was speaking to, and he communicated that way. So what did he do with Zacchaeus? Zacchaeus up in the tree. Quality time. Yeah, I'm going to your house today. I'm going to come spend time with you. For Lazarus, he physically touched him to heal him. That was what he needed, or that's what he was demonstrating. When he fed the 5,000, gifts. Yep. The wedding at Cana of Galilee. Service. Look at you guys. You got them all. The Beatitudes. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are those who... all of words of affirmation. It's such a comforting section, right? When we hear that, when we read that, if yours is words of affirmation, that's something that's going to be very touching for you, because he affirms so much of what we feel when we're weak, when we're hurt, when we're everything. All right. So like I said in the beginning, some of these languages are going to come easily to you, and others are going to be very hard. You have to make a commitment and an effort to learn them. If they're the language of your spouse, if it's the language of your children, and it's not your language, you have to learn it. It is a choice. You don't get to throw your hands up in the air and say, nope, sorry, I'm just not good at gifts. I can't do it. It's not my thing. They're just going to have to learn to accept love the way I give it. They're going to have to appreciate the way that I love them. That's not how this works, because love is a choice. If you are going to choose to love your spouse and love your children, you have to do it in a way that they are going to understand it. All right. So we can stop here. The last thing I want to leave you with is, in 1 Corinthians 13 it says, now these 3 remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. It's so important. But what I want you to think about is what comes right before that. It says, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now, we only see a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And then it says, now these 3 remain. So let's focus on that first part of how when you were a child, you spoke like a child, you acted like a child, you loved like a child, the way that you knew how. You are older now. You don't get to keep doing that. You have to learn them. You have to learn what your spouse speaks and what your children speak, and then communicate in that language, put it into action. All right, questions?
I'm going to start, and I know I see a lot of interaction, and I see a lot of answers here. I wanted to just stress on one thing. In our Egyptian culture, and you touch on it, but I just want to make sure that we all understand this point. A lot of times the husband will say, I'm giving her a lot of gifts, she does not understand, but this is not what she wants. She wants other things. She wants quality time. And then the wife will say, I'm in the kitchen the whole day. He does not understand. No, what he wants you to dress up, he wants you to look nice. This is what he's been asking for. I know you touch on this, but a lot of us don't understand that it's not about me, it's about the other, how they feel and how can I make them feel loved. Mm-hmm. And it's good that you mentioned the kids the same way. I've been doing everything for my child, he does not appreciate me, but maybe this is not what he wants. So if you can help us with practical points, how to change the culture. This culture has been embedded in us for years and years. How can we, with baby steps, how we can change this culture of it's not about me?
So we can't change the culture, right? It's there. We can't do anything to change it, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do on a daily basis. You know, before I do any of these kinds of talks, I always experiment on my own family. So I made my husband take it, and I took it. And my very last one was his very first one. And so it takes a concentrated effort. So practically speaking, it means deciding that once a week, maybe it's once a week, maybe it's more, maybe you start out once a week, minimum once a week. You set aside a certain number of time that you're going to devote to speaking that language. It's the same that you would learn a language, right? You're going to have to say, okay, every Saturday I'm going to sit down and for an hour I'm going to learn German. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn it. If you don't do that, it's not just going to happen to you. You have to set aside that time. And so, you know what? Once a week for a half an hour, I'm going to make sure that whatever my husband's physical, if it's physical touch, I'm going to devote a half an hour to making sure that I meet that need from the outset. It has to be intentional, and then increasing it as time goes on. Vice versa. If the wife's is acts of service, it means that the husband kind of takes, I'm going to decide for a half an hour, once a week, I'm going to figure out something that needs to be done around here to help. Maybe it's even asking, what can I do to help you this week? What do you need? What can I take off of you that I can help with? Other questions?
Questions? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he asked, would it be possible for people to have more than one language? Yes. When I took it, my two they're tied. And regardless of the numbers, but you can have two that are very important to you, and sometimes depending on the phase of life, you know, the author of the book, Gary Chapman, he believes that they don't really change from, you know, throughout the course of your life, but he does mention this, and I believe this, is that there are times in life where you need one more than the other. So for example, when your children are very young, you might need a lot more acts of service. And then as they become more independent, that kind of fades. Maybe physical touch came naturally for a while, so you didn't even realize it was a need, and then later on you realized it was missing. And so it kind of felt like, well, okay, it's a speaking louder.
They don't want, actually, when they are like babies or like till maybe elementary or something like this, it's fine for them. But after this, they don't want it.
The children?
Yeah.
Oh.
They feel like they are, yeah.
Oh, I meant as parents, we would want that support as acts of service.
Yes. How we can, you know, to handle this with them? I don't understand that.
Yeah, it can. So the thought behind it is that it doesn't change, but that the ways that you show it are a little bit different, right? So you're not going to carry a teenager anymore. You need to find a different way. It could be, you know, a pat on the back, a big high five, you know, ruffling their head. You can do it in different ways. Find it if physical touch, for example.
I'm fine, Mom.
Yep.
I'm not a baby anymore.
Yep.
You don't have to do this with me. You know, that's all, they embarrassing me sometimes. You know, I feel like, why I'm doing this.
That's okay. That's okay. They might say, I don't need this anymore. I'm not a baby. You don't need to do this anymore. And you can say that this is how I like to show people that I love them. This is how I show people that I care. And that's fine for you. But you also need to find what their language is. What speaks to them? What is it that they need? Pay attention to what are they complaining about? What are the complaints? What are they most upset about, most disappointed? What are they complaining about? You never get me anything, or is it, oh, you never take me anywhere, you never drive me to the mall like my friends, you know, what is it? What are they complaining about? Yeah, could be service. We never go anywhere, it's quality time. Yeah.
I always say that kids don't come with a manual, and husband and wife don't come with a manual either. And it's a working process. I think we have to learn to understand them.
Yeah.
more than sometimes asking them, but we have to learn to understand them.
Right.
And work towards, fulfilling their needs more than anything.
And pay attention to the things they're disappointed by. And that was why I started out with, understanding yourself first. You have to understand what it is that speaks most to you so that you can help your spouse understand that, each of you, so that then the spouse can also hear from the person after they've understood themselves to say, I realize this is really important to me. I would really love to see this more often.
Question?
Other question? Yes?
معلش أنا هتكلم بالعربي.
اوكي.
أنا عندي ابني طبعا هو بيتكلم إنجليزي طول الوقت قاعد في البيت في الروم بتاعته بيلعب إكس بوكس وطول الوقت قاعد فوق. فبقول له انزل اقعد معايا، يقول لي انزل اقعد معاك اعمل ايه؟ لان طبعا انا ببقى قاعد طبعا بشغل التلفزيون العربي وكده والافلام العربي والنيوز العربي وكده وحتى الاكل بتاعي وكل حاجه، فهو يعني سبرت عني تماما يعني. فايه الطريقه اللي اقدر اعملها ان انا اجيبه يقعد معايا او انا حتى اطلع معاه فوق؟ بس انا لو طلعت معاه فوق طبعا هو completely different في التوي سريع، في اللعب سريع، في كل حاجه. فتفتكري ايه الطريقه اللي اقدر اعملها ان هو يبقى communicate معايا؟
I think both. انت قلت حاجتين and I think both of them are right. ان انت to decide okay نص ساعه في الاسبوع انا هطلع فوق وهقعد معاه، هقول له وريني انت بتلعب، ممكن اتفرج معاك، عايزه اتفرج على اللي انت بتلعبه، واقعد اتفرج وبعدين العب شويه حتى لو مش كويس it's okay، العب شويه and then other times في الاسبوع افرض عليه ان هو لازم ينزل. هي انا هعمل كذا لو سمحت اطفي ده مش وقته دلوقتي، انزل تحت واقعد معايا، احنا دلوقتي هنتعشى مع بعض، انا دلوقتي عايزك تتفرج على ده معايا، انا عايز اقعد معاك اعمل whatever، انزل اتمشى معايا، تعالى معايا هروح المحل. How old are we talking? عندك كم سنة؟ Yeah. It can begin ان انت اللي تقعد معاه الاول، ولما يلاحظ ان هو he enjoys the time معاك then هيحب انه يقعد in other times. And maybe for you it's quality time and it's not for him. فانت عايز تقضي وقت معاه لكن هو عايز يحس بالمحبة بطريقة تانية. And it's about finding out طب what is it for him. أنتوا مع بعض؟ Okay. Maybe.
Like sports, he does not like quality time or gifts when I.
Yeah. So.
You mentioned something very important. Which is you mentioned that Jesus, who is not only our God, he's our Father and our teacher. If he give us the example that he can learn and treat each one with his needs, so we are capable of learning all 5 languages.
Yeah.
And we can treat it as the 5 senses that already he gave it to us.
Absolutely, that's a great point.
So if we are learning from Jesus everything, we should put the effort. For the things that we don't know or we don't have the talent of knowing, we can put the effort, as you mentioned. Even we can build it up a little bit by little bit, and eventually it's going to come like a nature.
Right.
So,
Absolutely, and especially with children, we have to show them even if we know what their preference is, we have to still teach them all of them. We have to speak to them in all of these types of languages so that when they are older, they're able to show love to their friends and their family and their spouses in the same way.
I wanted to share something with the teenager issue. One of my kids, when they were young, and I thought that I was on call, I came back to hug him, and he said, no, not in front of anybody. I don't like this. And I realized right away that he's different. And then when he became a teenager, he will do like sports and a lot of sports in his mind. I had to learn his kind of sports so I can talk to him. I had to Google things, and I had to educate myself so I can communicate with him. And here you go, it was a winner, because this is what he likes. And he looked at me, Mom, you know this stuff? Yes, I learned it. I was not born this way, but I learned it to get into you. So I think we have to make an effort. We have to make an effort understanding them. If they don't like to be hugged, don't hug. If they don't like to be praised in public, don't praise in public. If they don't like things, don't do it, but try to get into them through knowledge. You're not going to go to them and tell them, I like what you're doing. No, they want you to challenge them. You have to learn what they're doing and then go challenge them. And then they will come and then they'll say, I have the coolest dad, or I have the coolest mom. This is one way.
Yeah, and part of what you said there is that you took time to intentionally learn their language and then communicate that way, and that's what made them feel loved. Yeah. You can tell that my daughter's is quality time because she is just aching to be here, which is wonderful. So she is, yeah. So when she says, you know, what the ways are, she'll say things like, you know, she just enjoys being. She's the one where, if I'm going to the store, she just wants to be there. If I'm doing whatever it is, wants to be there. And hers are tied with words of affirmation. They're both really high. And so that means you have to be fluent in 2 languages at the same time and not do one over the other. They have to kind of exist at the same time. Yes? You want to respond? Oh.
معلش الموضوع بتاع أصلي مهم شوية يعني. طيب اقدر اعمل ايه بحيث ان انا هل مثلا هو بيقعد وقت كتير قوي على الاكس بوكس، ممكن مثلا 4 ساعات في اليوم او 5 ساعات في اليوم، ولو سبتيه يقعد طول اليوم على الاكس بوكس ما يتحركش من مكانه، ما يتحركش، نيفر موف من على الاكس بوكس. طيب تفتكري ان انا ممكن مثلا اديله 2 اورز يعني اقطع له الوقت بتاعه؟ هل ده يضايقه من ان هو قاعد طول اليوم لحد ان هو اقول له 2 ساعات بس في اليوم وبعد كده تقفل الاكس بوكس اخد منه الاكس بوكس؟ اقدر اعمل ايه عشان اشده من الاكس بوكس؟
لازم تسيت ليميتس. الفيديو جيمز ان جنرال بتكون حاجه بتشد الواحد وبتبقى مندمج فيه ومش قادر انك تسيبه. فلو انت حطيت الليميتس هيزعل. sure, which is okay. لو انت بتعمل what's best for him, that's okay. So لو هو مش قادر يعمل اي حاجه تانية الا ان هو focusing على دوت then هو محتاج مساعده انه يset the limits.
طيب تفتكر قد ايه الزمن اللي اداهوله في اليوم في الاكس بوكس؟ لان هو بيقعد طول النهار على الاكس بوكس.
In my opinion مش اكتر من 2 ساعات. in my opinion برضو شيل الاكس بوكس خالص. but that's you know that doesn't work for every family. So 1 ساعة.
ساعة واحدة.
ساعة is plenty. Right. And then تسيبه like ما فيش أي حاجة تانية.
صح. بالظبط. طب زي ايه مثلا؟ جيم. طيب في سؤال تاني، انا في مره بستناه على الباص قال لي ما تستنانيش تاني على الباص. بجد. ايه السبب؟ يعني once while يعني.
اوكي.
قال لي ما تستنانيش على الباص، ايه السبب؟ انا عايز اعرف ايه السبب.
اسأله. مش محتاج حد يستناه. بس اسأله، ما تخافش انك تسأله. طب ليه؟ عرفه ليه انت عايز تقف. انا عايز اقف علشان كذا كذا، علشان ما حدش كان بيقف يستناني، فانا عايز اعمل كده ليك، انا عايز اوريك المحبة دي بطريقتي. لا انا مش عايزك تكسفني. اوكي طيب ايه رأيك انا استناك في المكان دوت بعيد شوية، او ايه رأيك اعملها مرة في الاسبوع، اعملها مرتين في الاسبوع. have a dialogue معاه. but we can بس you can tell في الأسئلة بتاعته إن quality time is his. Yours is quality time. أنت عايزه يكون معاك، أنت عايز تقضي وقت معاه، أنت عايز تستناه في المحطة، أنت عايز تقضي like you want that time.
دكتورة نيفين، يعني واضح ان في اسئله كتيره وناس كتيره، يعني احنا we have one or two more questions and then بس انت can you recommend, do you have an office؟ يعني I wanted to make it open invitation if anyone have any specific question or specific case they want to bring it to your attention. Can we have your email? Can we have your phone number?
Yeah, you can definitely have my email. My office is in Ellicott City, but it's not I would say that, I mean, it's counseling, so it's not like open door to come in and have like a 10-minute conversation and leave. That's not going to be what the purpose is. Yeah. But if there is definitely a serious issue, a serious concern that you want to work through with either individually or as a couple or with the children, definitely, absolutely contact me, get in touch.
We'll have your email posted.
Yeah.
The other thing, we think counseling is just when we have a problem. Counseling is to have a healthy relationship with our kids or with our spouse. طبعا احنا جايين من culture برضو counseling ليه؟ انا مش محتاج counseling، انا زي الفل مفيش حاجه، صح؟ لكن this is not true. Counseling is to do better. طب انا بس حبيت اوضح النقطه دي. we're gonna put your email on the your email address. نخلي الخدام بتوع المجموعه. طيب سؤال تاني لحد بقى يكون عنده سؤال.
One more.
He has one more.
So when it comes to children, I believe younger than the teenager, I think or I believe they are not required to show any of these 5 languages, but we are the parents, we are required to. In my case, my daughter knows only gifts. So that's really a big problem. So the question is, shall I buy her gifts all of the time? That's it, or I have to do something extra?
No, like I said before, it's not always buying the gift. It could just be giving her small things. It could be something that's yours. You know, if you have a small something that she really likes, I mean, depending on how old are we talking? 10. Anything that's small, you know, you have a pen that you write, you can give that to her. It doesn't have to be bought. But like I mentioned with children before, you want to teach them all of the languages. You want to be able to show them all of them so that they can learn how to show that to others. But you primarily want to speak theirs. And so make sure that she feels loved through gifts, if that's the one. But it doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be constant. And I would encourage you to explore that a little bit more. Is it really gifts, or does that just tend to feel the easiest? Sometimes that feels the easiest. You see the smile on their face and they're excited. But if, you know, one of the things, if a child is kind of just, oh, wow, thank you so much, this is so nice, and then, you know, 2 days later they forget it, versus that was in their pocket, right? So when I told you about my son with the rocks, we were doing laundry, and we heard boom, 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 boom. What is that? The rocks were all in his pockets. We found like 20 inside of the washer, because he holds on to them. It's not just keep and then, you know, toss. So think about it a little bit more, too. All right. Yes, Tante.
ويشغلوا حاجات ممكن ولادهم يشارك فيها، لاني مش معقوله انا قاعده طول النهار اتفرج على حاجات عربي واجبره يجي يقعد معايا يتفرج على حاجات عربي.
صح.
انا اتنازل شويه واحط له حاجات انجليزي، اعمل له حاجات بتعجبه في المكان اللي انا قاعده فيه، وهو هيجي يشارك.
اتفرج معاه على ماتش كوره، اتفرج معاه على ماتش كوره.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Tanturjet's language is acts of service. If you didn't know, right?
Thank you very much, دكتورة.